Green Bay Packers at the Minnesota Vikings, a very interesting game, a game that we have action on here on my side on this thing. Right now, the Packers are 1.5 to 2 point road favorites over the Vikings, a total of 48.5 or 49. So we see the Vikings come out last week. We see them beat the Chargers outright. We see the Packers come out, and it was clunky, but they beat the Seattle Seahawks. They shut them out 17-0. Aaron Rodgers did not look extremely sharp in that game, but the defense continues to really play well. And over the last month, actually 5 weeks of the season, this Packers defense has been one of the very best in the NFL. Minnesota Vikings, a team that their record doesn't necessarily show everything I think about this team. You know, guys, if we look at this Viking squad and we go down, 3-point loss to the Bengals, 1 point loss to the Cardinals, a touchdown loss to the Browns, a 4-point loss to the Cowboys, a 3-point loss to the Ravens. You can see, I mean, they this record of 4-5 could easily be 5-4, could easily be even better than that. So, Brad, when you look at this, do you think that Green Bay covers here? Do you think that Minnesota could shock the world? What do you think?
But it's a tricky one because, as you say, you've got the team that wins close games and the team that loses close games. Mm-hmm. But it's also that's kind of historical. Like, Green Bay has just won a lot more games than it should do for the last 3 years and pretty much now through Rodgers' entire career. If you just back Rodgers blindly against the spread every single game of his career, you'd be hitting like 58% or something stupid. And I think when he missed the game, you kind of saw a little bit of that. Like, he just does, they're in the right play. If there's a light box, he'll run the ball. He's calling timeouts at the right time. He doesn't throw interceptions like, fewer interceptions than anyone else. So I do think there's maybe something that these play-by-play metrics may be missing. Like, I mean, if you look at Football Outsiders numbers, they think the Vikings should be favoured here. But I'm inclined to lean Green Bay's way. I've not bet it because you don't know what Vikings are going to show up. Are they going to throw the ball to Jefferson 11 times? As they should be doing every game, like they did last game? Are they going to go for it on 4th down like they did last game, like they should be doing every game? Like it's the first time all season they've played optimally, but are they going to do it again? You've got no idea, to be honest. And then Green Bay's defense is getting a bit banged up now. I think it was Rashawn Gary hyperextended his elbow. He said he wants to play, but I can't see how he's going to be effective after that. Whitney Merciless, he's out, the edge rusher. Obviously, Zadarius Smith and Jair Alexander also out already. So they're starting to get a bit thin up there, and you could see the Vikings having success, running the ball and then throwing to Jefferson and Thielen as well. So a stay away from me, in short.
Steven, we have, this doesn't mean he's going to play. Vikings designated Patrick Peterson to return from injured reserve. Harrison Smith did get activated off of the COVID list for them as well. So they should, at least from this Harrison Smith standpoint, have at least one guy back on the defensive side of the ball in this game they didn't even have last week with everything. The other thing I think to look at in all of this, I mean, there are some... Zimmer has just made some horrible decisions all year long. I mean, the guy is like just one of the least sharp coaches in all the NFL. Even last week, they get down to the 1 yard line against the worst run defense in the NFL. Do they hand the ball off to Dalvin Cook? No, they throw it from the 1 yard line 3 times in a row. It's just like all kinds of these decisions where it's like, what are you doing here? And LaFleur, I think, even though he doesn't get a ton of credit, I think is at least a fairly sharp guy here. This does feel like one of those games that could come down to one score, come down to final possession, something like that, somewhere along the way. Do you think that breaks on the Green Bay side? Do you think that breaks on the Minnesota side? Or do you feel like one of these teams has a definite edge?
I don't know. Flip a coin, man. I mean, this line hasn't moved at all week, despite a lot, it seems, at least in my Twitter feed. I don't know about you guys. It seems like there is a lot of industry support, market support for the Minnesota Vikings. It's
dropped a point.
This was dropped a point.
I mean, it has dropped a point. It was 2.5. It was 2.5 on Tuesday in favor of the Vikings. I mean, in favor of the Packers. It's down to 1.5. So it's come down a point.
Yeah, my apologies. When I looked at this last night, it hasn't moved, but as we record this now on Thursday, it has. So there is money coming in on Minnesota here. And this is our lead writer, Eli Hershkovich's one of his 2 best bets this week, along with Houston to cover. I think Harrison Smith and Patrick Peterson potentially coming back is significant. This is a Vikings defense that was already 8th in EPA per play defense. The Packers offense is without Aaron Jones. And I know a lot of us here, I think, are mostly running backs don't matter, but he matters a lot to the passing game for Green Bay. He is probably their second best receiver. So AJ Dillon, I think, will do a fine job in the ground game, but that's a big drop off in the passing game to me. So on the other side of the ball, the Packers are bottom 5 in EPA per play allowed in the running game. And Brad has already mentioned the injury to Gary. He's going to try and play with a brace on that elbow. But he is right up there with Max Crosby as the only 2 players that rank top 5 in both pressures, QB hits, and hurries. So that would be a significant drop off if he is not his normal self in this game. So I say all of this to say that sure, Aaron Rodgers can still take over any game any given week, but there's a lot of things pointing to Minnesota being a very strong team and maybe catching Green Bay at the right time right now.
So Alan Lazard didn't practice on Wednesday. Devontae Adams was limited on Wednesday. Aaron Rodgers didn't practice on Wednesday, and they're all going to play. They all say that they're going to play. But the thing that was interesting to me was the Aaron Rodgers injury was a toe. And we've seen these toe injuries with quarterbacks like linger and just kind of like be uncomfortable and all. And listen, I understand they'll give him some horse tranquilizers and all that stuff, and he'll be fine and he'll be good to go. But he said that he was a little bit tired after his stint with COVID and all that. I think that there are some lingering things going on here that maybe kind of lean in the Vikings' favor as well. I do have the Vikings in a teaser leg this week. I had it when it was at 2.5. I took it all the way up to 8.5. I actually took a small piece of them on the money line as well. Not a ton, but just a little bit of a sprinkle of them on the money line. I do have some respect for this Packers defense. I think what we've seen with our eye, listen, there's one thing to have a small sample size. I understand that 5 weeks of the NFL season is not that huge, but it's half of what we've been able to see, right? I mean, we're through 10 weeks, and for half the season, they played really, really well. And so I have to tend to believe that maybe that is real, that there's some realness to this Packers defense. So I do have some respect for that. I think it'll be a pretty close game. That's why I did want to play it in a teaser and then even get a little sprinkle in the money line, because I think it could be a field goal type of game. And maybe that field goal ends up on the Minnesota side, and I can take home both of those bets.